Hello, it's Pibble Pusher, and today I'm going to show you how I make the 3 kinds of flocking I use in my builds. These are all handmade, they're all relatively quick and extremely inexpensive, so without further ado, let's get to it. We have these little rock pieces we will be adding our flocking to today, so here's our lovely before shot. And to start us out, we will be showing how to make a grassy style flocking, most similar to your professional flocks. Now, for these, you want to get I don't know if this is burlap or jute rope. They're easy to find in the craft store, or I got mine from the dollar store. You can dye them green using just like acrylic paint and some water. I happened to have this one already green, but you can also make them whatever color you want once you've finished this process. And all you're going to do is get some scissors and be very patient and give them little haircuts until you get lots of tiny blades of grass. Now, I found this really hard on my wrist, so I actually ended up getting my hair clippers, the kind you'd use to give someone a buzz cut, and using those to make progress a little bit faster. It still took me 40 minutes to get this much, so it is definitely the highest effort and slowest way I'm going to show you here. So you apply this just like you would any other flocking. You put a little bit of white glue on your surface or your terrain piece and sprinkle it over. Now, if you're familiar with this grass style flocking, you might know that a lot of professionals will use a static machine to make the grass stand on end a little bit so that it actually looks a bit more like grass. I don't have one of those machines, so I wanted to see if I could achieve a similar effect with a balloon and a wool sweater. And honestly, it did better than I was expecting. It's definitely not to the stage where it could replace one of those static machines, but for $1.50, I thought it did great. And I had a balloon out of it. By comparison, our next 2 flockings are super easy and quick. Our mossy flocking's up next. For this, you want wet floral foam. You can, again, craft store, dollar store, or if you know older ladies, they often just have spare of this kicking around. And it's actually really effective put through the Feta setting of a cheese grater. And quick and easy to do, quicker than grating cheese, I would argue. The nice thing about these blocks is they come in different shades of green, so I ended up getting 2 different ones, a slightly lighter tone and a more vivid green. And you can see the more vivid one here on my crystal terrain, and then I will also show the new ones on the other. The only problem I found with this terrain is that the colors are very consistent, very monochrome. You don't get a lot of variation. I think this could probably be solved by adding a little bit of paint and just kind of half mixing it in so that you have some variation, or mixing different piles of your flocking. I've also had success mixing different kinds of flocking. There was a sponge flocking I made a while ago that I didn't love it. I didn't end up keeping it, but I mixed the scraps in with some of this foam flocking, and I actually really liked the variety in texture it gave as well. So definitely play around and see what works best for you. When you're applying this flocking, I recommend pushing it into the glue a little bit, and then once you tap it off, you can choose to either leave it a little bit fluffier or to pat it down flat, depending what kind of a mossy look you're going for. Our last kind of flocking is a bushy flocking. Now, you might have seen me use something similar before in parsley in my Dwagar build. And as you can see here, over time it went brown, which was very disappointing for me. So my fix for that was my fix for everything in life, acrylic paint. So dead easy. Once again, you get some parsley flakes. You can buy these in bulk pretty cheaply at the dollar store or Walmart. Pop it into a mixing container you don't mind having absolutely covered in paint. And then mix in a healthy amount of whatever color you wish. In this video, I was going for green, so it'd be comparable to the other flockings. But I also have some orange that I'll show later that I thought would be good for like an autumn forest. And I'm sure you could do blues and purples if you were going for something a bit more fantastic. Here's the finished result. You can see it turned out a nice bright green. I am expecting this to dull as the natural green in the parsley goes, so I've made it a little bit brighter than it maybe needed to be. But I'm still happy with it. I think it looks quite fresh. For comparison, here's the orange and yellow flocking I made up maybe a week and a half ago that I think will be excellent autumn leaf litter. Similar to with the mossy flocking, I recommend pressing this into the glue a little bit, otherwise it doesn't really want to stay. And with all the flockings, once you've got your pieces done, I recommend using some spray glue to just kind of give them a light misting to help everything stay in place after it's all affixed. So there you have it, 3 different kinds of flocking for your builds that are cheap, easy, and functional. If you've enjoyed this video, please do check out my other content. This includes crafting content, but also a free dark fantasy novel called The Grim and the Reaper. And I have a Kickstarter launching soon for my new novel, The Ghost of Mittermere. This is a dark fantasy novel featuring meddling gods, rogues, action, adventure, and the audiobook will be narrated by a real live reverend, so that's just kind of cool. Links for all of that will be below in the description. Please do check it out. Your support means the world to me. Thanks so much, and happy crafting.